starting now. I'm catching you on camera. This is a.
Let's go. Walk me through it. Tell me, sports fan Griffin.
I'm Project Veritasing you and exposing you as a fake sports fan. So Gritty, I don't like him, but I thought you would know who Gritty is. He's like
Are you talking about the hockey thing? I don't really watch hockey.
There's like a epic like leftist mascot. You know who Gritty is, right, Gavin?
Who?
Gritty. I don't like him, so it sounds like I'm hyping Gritty up. I don't like Gritty.
I don't know who that is. Is that a hockey player?
This is insane.
Hockey. See, we got there. That was exactly what I said. I was like, I've never heard of him. Is he from hockey?
Oh, the mascot guy?
The mascot.
Yeah, no, I know Gritty. I didn't know that was his name, but now that I see him, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but also there's like a million accounts that are like Gritty is like pro Hamas and like Gritty is like a Antifa
like
terrorist and it's like but it's like leftist Grimace or whatever online or whatever. And I'm saying,
wait, that's the other thing. We have to get to the bottom of this. There was the shake, right? The purple shake. Is it pronounced Grimace, like I'm grimacing, or is it pronounced Grimace? Because on TikTok, the people's pronunciations go different. Like, is it like, you know what I mean? Like Grimace shake. Like, yes, dude. I'm telling you, there's a lot of we need to open the schools. This is what we're all discovering. Because if the man's name is Grimace, like I believe it is, that's how it's spelled, right? So unless I was missing something, it's a Grimace shake. My next question is, why in the United States of America are we trying to sell a product that is purple to make you grimace, and it's supposed to be a good thing? Like, the advertisements have gone too far.
RFK. Go full RFK here. Don't even do the voice.
The reality is of the Grimace Shake is it makes you grimace all the way to the hospital because it's a bunch of red 40 and yellow high number 3 and all kinds of nonsense. If you mix those colors, you grimace because
this is the first normal thing. This is normal RFK. Everyone's on his side about the Grimace Shake, but it's like Grimace Shake is like smoking.
Every time I go to the bathroom since I've tried this new Joe Rogan all meat diet, it's like
Zach,
a Grimace Shake.
You're making your own Grimace Shake.
Why did you think it was called Grimace? Or what led you to that?
Because have you ever? No, I was making a joke about the wild TikTok videos that came out after the Grimace Shake. Did you ever watch
where
those?
people were like throwing up and like dying and stuff.
Yeah. I was just saying that we got a large variety of pronunciations. People from across the pond.
Oh.
You know, this is a British inclusive podcast. Everyone, we call it Circle Jerk America, and we're sure to make fun of your motherland, but you're still welcome.
Well, the majority of our listeners are from India, but we're willing to branch out to the UK if you're willing to stop whatever's going on there and join hands with Elon Musk to take over the aisle. The aisle apparently is out of control. It's just run rampant, and Elon is trying to take care of that, and I'm excited to get into that story.
Oh, yeah, he's wading into the politics of like all these other countries now too.
Yeah, have you guys seen this? He's going after Britain. He's like,
oh no.
He's like yelling at Keith Starmer. He's like, Keith Starmer, you have led these rape gangs or whatever. And listen, I actually did some research, and apparently this did happen, not to what the accounts online are saying. The accounts online are saying like millions of British girls have been like sexually trafficked. But actually for like 10 years, and it ended in like 2013, there was this like town called like Rotherham. And over like the course of around 10 years, they say like 1,400 girls were trafficked in some way. And so, you know, it's like, and they're blaming Keith Starmer for that. And that I think is hilarious.
What's crazy about that from the like an actual historical perspective is that the British and the English writ large, right? I guess it's the English and the British writ large. Excuse me. I don't care about your history, though. The Commonwealth. Those people travel for sex all the time. They're actually known for it. It's like a big deal. They're like going to go to Thailand. They're going to go to the Philippines. They're going to go to all these different countries and try and have sex with a bunch of underage people. That's your guys' international reputation. Okay.
Imagine being that horny that you get on a plane. Like, that's crazy to me.
Speaking of, we were talking about, or I don't know if we've talked about it yet, but the Brett Ratner thing. Apparently, he's living in Israel now. Kind of a similar.
Is he? But he's back.
Yeah,
he's back. I heard MeToo. This is crazy. Like, we're hopping around a lot of stories here. Do we want to start with Brett Ratner? Because that's a fun one.
We could talk about the return of Brett Ratner. Because honestly, I kind of forgot he even was a thing.
So you're talking about the man, the myth, the legend behind the Rush Hour film
The Rat.
series, the classic film series with Jackie Chan. Oh man, you know what? The world's been itching for his comeback. They've been calling for it. You know what? They were like, we'll make exceptions every once in a while. If you're a comedic, once in a generation talent, your stand-up's better than everyone else's, you get a pass. That's what happened to Aziz Ansari. Everybody knows he was the best stand-up of his generation, right? No, I'm kidding. I actually don't really think he's that funny.
Yeah. What about Louis C.K.? He would have some notes for you.
Louis C.K. He never really, who did he hurt? You know what I mean? Sarah Silverman went to bat for him. She was like, you know what? It's kind of weird. He jerked off in the room. No, I'm kidding. That was horrible.
That is that was the funniest moment where she was like, it happened and it was not that bad, which is that was crazy. That was
Sarah
awesome.
Silverman, in in more ways than one, is a legend. I'm sorry to say. I know she's had some problematic takes over the last couple of years, but there was one point in my life where I was like, you know what? Sarah Silverman's fucking hilarious.
She had a moment.
Yeah, just one moment. Yeah.
School of Rock, I think apex of her career. I'm just saying, got to work with Richard Linklater,
I
Jack
forgot she
Black.
was in that
Wow.
shit. Sarah Silverman?
Oh yeah, she plays the like evil bitch girlfriend of the guy that doesn't want Jack Black to keep sleeping on his floor.
shit.
She's great. She's great in it. Yeah,
Really
exactly.
starstruck when I
Rewatched
watched
that
it as a child. I was like, I want to be just like this woman.
So wait, back to Brett Ratner. What did he get Me Too'd for? Here, let's see if I can pull up the article here. I sent it to y'all because I think this is this weird thing has happened where post election defeat, post Trump win, there was supposedly supposed to be all of this seismic soul searching and shifting in the Democratic Party, and I haven't seen any of that happen. But what I have seen happen is Hollywood just be like, you know what, we got to clean up our act and go conservative. They've been they took out a gay storyline in a Pixar movie recently. They've been being you know what, guys, don't worry, it was our fault that Trump won. We're gonna start printing conservative little puff movies now. Right. So I guess Me Too is officially
it's over, bro. It's never been more over.
Wow.
Jover. I even saw the guy that made Yellowstone, which I am led to believe is actually a decent television show. I don't really watch television, but Gavin, you said that the Yellowstone show got
I've heard it's great.
Decent reviews.
And I like the
he was on Fox News the other day talking about how the right wing was winning back Hollywood. I was like, oh, come on. It was the Yellowstone show creator on Fox Business or something stupid.
Damn, that sucks because I actually liked his movies before he even made Yellowstone, which I've heard is good. But the thing about that dude though is I can tolerate him being a little bit emboldened or whatever, because at least he actually makes good shit that people want to watch and that has been successful. Mm-hmm. With Brett Ratner, it's all right, bro, who's really clamoring for more Brett Ratner content, right?
Well, I follow that up with obviously
Rush Hour 4.
No, Rush Hour 4. He will direct the Melania Trump documentary. But that is going to be return. So it's kind of like a We Too or a Be Best kind of situation now. And the thing I love about this is Melania is having a moment. Melania is having a big moment. Her book is the #1 bestseller through the holidays. The Melania book.
The one where she talks about her nudes and stuff?
The one where she tells all, Gavin. The one where she tells all. That's a great gift. You want to give that to your aunt. You want to give that to your aunt and have it be on her coffee table until she dies.
Am I your aunt?
I want it on my coffee table if she bears all.
And guess what? It's a beautiful book too. It's all. I think it's all white and just have a little curse. I honestly
but you don't want to borrow his. It's all the pages are stuck together. But don't ask too much questions about it. Make sure you handle it with gloves.
I've got a first edition signed. But let's hear what's going on here. So Brett Ratner forced out of Hollywood at the peak of the Me Too movement. They say why? Oh, he directed X-Men: The Last Stand. You got to mention that. You got to mention The Last Stand.
And it's funny too because Bryan Singer directed the first 2 X-Men movies. He's even more of a notorious sex pest than Brett Ratner. And he handed off the baton to his buddy Brett to make a giant piece of shit.
Okay,
it truly is. It takes a village.
It looks like it says Ratner's Hollywood career stopped in 2019 when an actress accused him in the Los Angeles Times of forcing himself on her sexually, and other women described inappropriate conduct. A different woman accused him of rape in a Facebook post, then retracted that allegation. Ratner denied all the allegations, and he was never charged with misconduct. The allegations came at a moment of extreme sensitivity to sexual harassment issues in the entertainment industry, Variety reported at the time. Amazon said in a statement that the film...
If you scroll down, too, it says that he moved to Israel.
2025.
Oh, no, yeah. If you scroll up, it's like you don't even have to read all the other stuff. You just know from then on.
Gotcha.
He reportedly lives in Israel, but had recently been seen in Mar-a-Lago, which is now, I guess, like the Israel of Florida in terms of pedophiles per capita. It's very similar ratio. So last
but don't worry, they're looking for. They've got their eyes peeled. Every single one of them. They're on the hunt for the nearest pedophile. They're watching out for those groomers on the beach. All right, any of these college kids with blue hairs or boobs? I don't know. I don't trust them.
The Mar-a-Lago pedo hunters is just the Spider-Mans pointing at each other meme. Last year, he and U.S. President-elect Donald Trump were reportedly among the guests at the wedding of the son of business Al Malnik, who is close to Ratner. Amazon said in a statement that the film, which began shooting last month and is set for release in theaters, it's got to go in theaters. We got to be at the midnight. Will offer an unprecedented behind-the-scenes look at the First Lady. So, I mean, this is good stuff. This is great stuff.
To be honest,
Hollywood is changing. Hollywood is accepting the Trump movement.
Yeah, that is undeniably true, and we honestly should have a broader conversation about that. I will say, though, from the perspective of even a documentary like a puff piece or a propaganda film, I do think Melania is unironically maybe the most interesting subject you could go with.
Yes.
Because think about it.
A story to tell.
Yeah, there's so much there. And she's also a very mysterious person, unironically.
Yes.
Right? So it kind of does, like, I'm kind of envious of Brett Ratner. I'm like, I want to go on this mission. Give me a fucking camera.
I know. We need to get him canceled again so we can just get in and direct the movie. But now we have to go the opposite in a way. Now we have to release stories about him overly respecting women. That he's like too much of a simp.
Yeah, that is actually what's going to be interesting. What level of accountability, what level of agency does he decide to assign to Melania? Does he decide to, empower her by also giving her some of the flack that she probably deserves riding alongside this guy as he, is a literal psychopath? I mean, we forget there's so many things that Donald Trump did even before he was president that were just disgusting, that most people would never be able to tolerate. It's sickening. The way that he treated the workers around him, the way that he would constantly not pay people, the way that he would let a business go bankrupt and ruin families and all this kind of stuff.
Celebrity Apprentice, yeah.
Right, exactly. You know what I mean? He was willing to stoop to any low for his own enrichment and humiliate his family, be damned, have brazen affairs in public, not care at all about Melania. So to some extent, you would wonder if part of this guy's MeToo journey is to be like, this lady has to also be a psychopath. And she just weighed her options and she was like, yeah, I'd still rather be this close to a billion than further away from a billion.
I want to know what her type is. Like, I want to meet her boyfriends. Like, I want to know who she goes for. And, originally my first thought would be, like, pool boy, stud, jacked,
pool boy,
also
definitely.
from a different country, like definitely English second language. That's important. But then I'm thinking about it. I'm like, what if also her boyfriends are shaped like Donald Trump? Like, what if that's just the kind of guy she's into?
She's going out with Chris Christie, get behind, get him back. You know what? And I'll show him. I'm gonna fuck this whale piece of shit and send him a picture. Yeah.
I imagine if we all of a sudden the book jumps back to her teen years, she's like a hitman on the streets of Eastern Europe somewhere, just fucking killing that. I bet she's had a crazy past, and that's why the book is selling.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually you've done a great job promoting it, Griffin. You know what? You should get into production or something like that, or promotion. You surely know how to sell this kind of thing.
It is interesting though in the context of the broader Me Too backlash or the end of the movement that we're seeing, which I definitely think is fair to say. Do you think we're going to finally see the return of some of our old favorites, Kevin Spacey perhaps?
Yeah, Kevin Spacey, 100%. I believe something's already filming with Kevin. But let's think.
You guys remember when he went on Tucker Carlson's show and he was entirely in character? We've reacted to it on Circle Jerk.
Rough.
Yep.
That was rough.
He came in talking like Frank Underwood.
But yeah, maybe we can get a new season
it was
of
very
House of Cards. They can just
kind of
completely get rid of the last one where they killed him off.
We're not that far away from that, Gavin. Like, we might get an actual House of Cards, and more seasons and a finish now. Like, that's a great, like, fucking call it now, Barry Bonds. But the other thing is, like, I think, is Harvey Weinstein going to be let out of jail? Because that would be a crazy one, right?
No, Harvey Weinstein just got convicted again in California, so he's facing 25-plus years in New York and in California. So he'd have to get a fuckload of shit overturned. The only reason that Bill Cosby got let out was because he'd gotten
pretend to be
away with
blind,
it.
right?
Well, he is blind for sure, but not like 100%.
No, I don't believe it.
Sure. He's perfectly. The reason he was able to get away with it was because we were so far removed from the ability to gather good DNA evidence, good bodily. But he was so prolific, and there was
he's
so much
fucking old. Yeah.
circumstantial evidence. Right, exactly. And because of the shame culture, all that stuff. Anyway, it made it really hard to prosecute Bill Cosby. That and the fact that he had endless resources to fight it right to the very end. So he was able to get out on a technicality, unfortunately. But I don't expect that to happen to any of these other assholes that actually ended up behind bars.
With Weinstein, I feel like what's more important than the dude himself is like will that model return to Hollywood? You know, the Harvey Weinstein casting model. Like, I mean, because if MeToo's over, then I mean, what's gonna happen?
The thing is acting is over. There's no actors left. There are sons and daughters and AI. There are no new actors. Like, we did stop that. So the casting couch doesn't exist just because of that. Like, I'm sure maybe there's some like TikTokers that are being assaulted in like Instagram hotels or whatever. I'm sure that stuff is happening. But no, I think there's no actors anymore.
Well,
except for Kevin Spacey.
That's really heartbreaking, but I think the reason that it feels like that is that there's no actors that are like movie stars, right? But there are still a bunch of really talented people that are coming up through the indie ranks. And actually, one of the things that made me really excited about films is I'd kind of been unplugged from film world, right? But recently I've had a lot more time on my hands, so I've been really going back through. And even just watching 5 or 6 2024 films, I realized how much incredible stuff is out there that just doesn't get promoted anymore. And I think the reality is there are tons of people who want to make those Miramax-style, personal, 90s-style, blockbuster generation, whatever you want to call it, kind of films. But because it's so hard, it takes you decades of your life to make 1 or 2 films. The people that are in it are most likely people that know you, sometimes holding down real jobs. Meanwhile, they're trying to be in this movie, and it'll be a great piece of work, but there's just not the institutional production that there was in the past where they had to put out so many more studio movies in the past. Now they just make slop, direct to Netflix 10-part series.
That's
because
that's where people watch fucking movies. That's the tragedy of it. It's like when our parents' generation, like they did constantly go to the movies just as a form of entertainment, as a way to pass the time. And hey, let's go see Slacker. Let's go see this movie, whatever. Nowadays, like people, for the most part, they are going to check out a movie on Netflix. If they have a night off, they're going to say, let's, pop on Netflix. So, I mean, that's why it's happening, but it is unfortunate, specifically with Netflix increasingly watering down the quality of their own shit. I feel like there was a real golden age for Netflix that we're kind of past.
Oh, gosh, their first
I like the
shows
theater.
were awesome.
I like the theater, too. I feel like we all 3 agree with that, but... and I'm hoping there's a bit of a resurgence. As much as we talk about AI taking over, I think one thing that not enough people are talking about is like there will be a backlash to the AI, and then like the real movies will almost be considered kind of like craft movies, like, oh, this is like where real people go to get the shit, not just like this mass-produced fucking garbage, like the radio, you got to go to the record store to get the real shit. You got to go to the fucking, place where the average normie might not know about, but, the people that know.
Yeah, I feel like it...
famously successful record stores. That's a bright future for film.
Hey, dude, that's a $1 billion
what
industry.
It is the bummer for me is that it almost takes away the biggest, most collaborative art form, and it makes it somehow niche when it was mainstream. You know what I mean? Like, everybody used to watch the movies. Everybody used to want to be in the movies. It used to be the thing to want to be. Now everybody... Like, I remember it blew my mind because Gavin and I... we YouTube a lot, and we were like, wow, this is actually keeps getting voted the most #1 sought after job from Zoomers, and we grew up. We wanted to be I'll speak for myself. I wanted to be Matt Damon. I would have done any crime you put in front of me to have Matt Damon's career. I would have stolen a car and run over 100 children. If you would have been like, you know what, you're going to walk onto a Hollywood set and you're going to star in Good Will Hunting, I'd have been like, get out of my fucking way. I'm getting behind the wheel. You know what I mean? But times changed now. Now that's a weird thing to want to grow up to
Now
be like a
people want to
niche
be
movie
Mr.
star.
Beast.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. God, that Mr. Beast stuff. Apparently, that Mr. Beast thing like bombed on Amazon.
Dude, it did because 7-year-olds don't watch Amazon Prime. They watch TikTok.
Well, speaking of Mr. Beast
Yeah.
and the future of cinema, did you see his tweet where he's trying to collaborate with A24?
Yeah, he was like, let's make a scripted horror movie where people die or something like that. I don't know.
He was like, let's make a scripted
you know.
horror film. And people are like, that's literally just called a movie, bro. A scripted horror film.
I think outside of the fucking obvious, like, lol, Mr. Beast shit, it's just like there is an obvious tension that, you know, for some shit, like, you can be at the very peak of YouTube and still feel like there isn't that sort of that glamour, that ultimate satisfaction that you would get from being like an A-list movie star or something like that. Like, there's still something
on the silver screen, mama.
Yeah. He's like hollow in some way still, you know, and so he's like trying to get into these more mainstream things like Amazon and A24 because like even though he's on a platform that would be seen by way more people than any of these platforms he's reaching out to, there's something missing about it.
I also think it's funny that he tagged A24 when Blumhouse is right there. Obviously, Blumhouse would be the proper purveyor of such slop, not fucking
Yeah,
A24.
you fucking loser.
Are you kidding me?
Come on. Yeah.
What's crazy about all of this, I think to Griffin's point, is the fact that when he talks about this openly, he kind of brags about it. When he made his YouTube channel, he did it with the sole intent of becoming the biggest YouTuber. He didn't actually have a passion to make the kinds of, like, I filled my brother's house up with slime. Like, oh, God, look at all these. Like, it's not a passion for him. It's not something that, like, what is a passion for him is success, right? And you see that a lot more in the tech world than you do in the entertainment world. And I think that Mr. Beast is like a perfect foray for everyone to take a look at and be like, these are the guys that run Uber. These are the guys that run DoorDash. These are the guys that run, you know, startups that you've never heard of, but for some flimsy reason, they're worth $100 million. So these guys are rich. And because the only thing they cared about was getting rich, they start these companies that deep down they don't give a shit about. And what does he want? He wants the fulfillment of being an artist. He wants the fulfillment of being a craftsman. But you have to do something you love. You have to do something you believe in to accomplish that. And all he understands is SEO. That's why, to Gavin's point, he didn't pull up Blumhouse because he's not actually passionate about horror movies. He knows A24 trends better. Even though I would say out of all of them, the most likely he could leverage his name to that's not Amazon Studios is Neon, because they're willing to do that fucking schlock. You know, just because somebody with a big name is attached to it.
True. They did that Chris Stuckman shit.
So
that's exactly what I was thinking of. I was like, they already are in the YouTuber that can't make movies game. Next, they'll probably do Red Letter Media.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something terrifying about him when I look at him. I think he got like married recently. There's just nothing behind those eyes.
Engaged.
So
and they were wearing his merch, guys. There's something so psychopathic about that.
that's swag. No, that's swag as hell. I get everyone dripped
Everybody
out.
in the room is wearing Mr. Beach merch while he proposed to his fiance. Like, what the hell? You're running a cult, dude.
Oh, he should have gotten like a B rhinestone or something for the ring. You know, and we should all be able to buy one, right? I just want to get in on the
about this
engagement.
the other day. Are we past the point in time when buying a real diamond is actually considered like the thing you have to do because of all of the fucking slavery that's involved in Sri Lanka? And
Broke
you're like,
boys, broke boys. Question.
I'm not getting married anytime soon. I was just thinking about it because we were talking about how there's a lot of slavery involved in mining, and you're like, that's kind of a weird thing to put on your finger as like a symbol of your everlasting love. Like
diamonds that aren't grown in a lab, the result of that, like you can't just get any that are chill.
I don't know.
I don't know who would mine for diamonds that isn't a slave at this point, right? And but also, I feel like a lot of the diamond mining slaves have been getting poached by the iPhone mining slaves, and so I think there's a lot of competition, and there's a lot of job openings in those fields if you want to get out, work with your hands.
You know what? Let everybody know how white trash I am. One of the vacations I did as a child was to the only open diamond mine that you can go to in all of the United States of America, and you can drive like 9 hours from where I grew up and go sift for diamonds because like 8 people over the last 100 years have found diamonds in this wretched little fucking. It's in Arkansas. They call it the Crater of Diamonds, and I'm pretty sure it's just like an excuse for my family to like see the Ozarks or whatever.
That's like the worst.
It was the worst fucking vacation of my life.
That's the most uncreative name ever. Just like, what do we call it? Cave of Diamonds, I guess?
Crater of Diamonds.
Crater of Diamonds, sure, yeah.
And it was like 100 fucking degrees outside, and I didn't want to be there. I was like, fuck
Sounds
this.
terrible.
Well, I wanted to bring up a different crater that, it's kind of been a headline news for a while. I wanted to get both my dog's takes on this one, because I know we haven't talked about a certain crater outside the Trump Hotel with the Cybertruck car. This was a story that if you were paying attention to it minute by minute, it would be a total waste of your time and energy because so much information came out and was false and retracted. I think the FBI like blatantly got stuff wrong, and like they were like, we have video
They said
evidence.
it was ISIS related.
No. That's the New Orleans one. Which
this is Trump Hotel. Excuse me.
We'll get to that and how they're actually connected. But the thing is with this one, the FBI fucked it up so hard right out the gate because they said multiple people were helping him with this. They said they saw 3 to 4 other individuals loading the car with something, and then like an hour later, like actually no, none of that's true. It's like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
It also seemed at first like it was definitely an anti-Trump sort of a demonstration, but as time goes on, it might not be that case. It might be the opposite.
Yes. So let's take a little bit of what's been gathered since then. Some details here. Soldier in Tesla blast had PTSD and feared the U.S. collapse. His name is Master Sergeant Matthew Livesberger. This is
Matcha Livesberger.
His name is his life
This guy
is
a
for
German
burger.
spy? I can feel it.
I think that's the most American last name of all time. Life is Burger. Like it doesn't. What would be a more American than
Level
that to
Up
me?
Burger.
Level Up Burger. So he wrote that he wanted to send a wake-up call to the country, the authorities said on Friday. In notes recovered by investigators from one of his phones and made public, he praised President-elect Donald J. Trump and wrote that our soldiers are done fighting wars without end states or clear objectives. On
This
New
guy's
Year's Day,
brainwashed.
he pulled the Tesla, which was packed with explosives, into the driveway of the hotel and fatally shot himself before the victim went up in
He
flames.
was in the Tesla.
Yeah, dude.
This is the first time realizing that he was in the
He got fucking
Cybertruck.
barbecued in there.
Don't worry,
That
I
was
did the homework for this one. And what's crazy too is like they were like, oh, he didn't die from the explosion. He died from a gunshot to the head, which many were thinking, oh, this guy got shot in the head, and then they put the self-driving car into drive mode and drove him to the location.
Patsy.
Which is,
Patsy.
I mean,
they gave him a German name. They wanted us to be suspicious.
Wait, so how did the explosion go off? Who was there to light the fireworks?
Well, they might have been timed or something like that. Who knows how they did that part? Or it could have put like a 5-minute.
But it was
timer
just
on
one
or
man?
something. So that's now what they're saying.
That's what they want you to believe.
They did put out evidence. They put out some statements saying 3 to 4 people helped him, and then they retracted that. The FBI retracted that information. Now, listeners, just to pause for a moment for the listeners. You don't have to. I'm not telling you what to believe or what to think, and I'm post believing or thinking in anything. I'm just doing my homework. I'm seeing what everyone else is saying, and I'm going to relay all these different little details. But I choose to believe nothing anymore, and because you can't get your hopes too high up because you're not going to really know.
Is it
anything?
Is it possible that he literally ignited the bomb or firework or whatever it was, and then literally immediately then shot himself in the head?
That's what I would do. Was there a gun found in the vehicle?
Because that seems more likely.
There was a gun found. The gun was found in the bottom of the vehicle.
That sounds more likely then.
You would not want to barbecue to death. You would, if you were suicidal, you would still probably have it within yourself to take yourself out.
Right. I mean, he definitely did. It's just whether or not he did it before self-driving the Tesla to the place.
Oh,
I'm saying it seems
now
like
I
he
see.
drove himself there, set off the bomb, and then like literally a second before the bomb went off, he shot himself in the head. But I mean, that would definitely be, I don't know. It seems like a stupid thing to do, first of all, because like the message was so muddled. It didn't really send a wake-up call. There wasn't like a manifesto, really. And it just seems to be...
People thought he hated Trump. It was the
everyone
exact
did.
opposite of whatever he was
Well,
trying to...
we all woke up New Year's Day being like, what's that? That's interesting. And for a few hours, the Cybertruck, most people thought it was just a Cybertruck doing what
That's
Cybertrucks
what I thought.
do.
I thought it was an accident.
Which is explode.
I thought it was like someone had stored a bunch of New Year's Eve fireworks in their car accidentally, and then it somehow got ignited. Because I would always hear stories about that kind of shit growing up. Like some asshole like left a bunch of fireworks in his oven, and then his house burnt down because they all went off.
Yeah.
I thought it was like some bullshit like that. But the message...
My favorite part, though, about that, though, was that they first everyone's like, Cybertruck just blew up on its own. But then the Elon simps were like, thank God it was a Cybertruck because it contained the explosion. Because any other car, there would have been more casualties.
Ian Miles Chung tweeted that. That was such fucking simp shit. Also, guys, we can peek behind the curtain because we decided, Gavin and I signed up for Twitter blue check mark or whatever to see if we would get promoted more.
Why would you
amount
admit
of
this?
shameless
Why would you
grifting that
admit
people
this on the
do.
show? Oh my God, so embarrassing. How much is
I know,
it?
Oh my God. What?
How much is no? Like there are way more embarrassing things that you can subscribe to than Twitter Blue.
Long story
was
short,
like
what I was
$10.
saying is that these people debase themselves and degrade themselves and say all kinds of ridiculous shit for like no money. There's a reason the #1 shit poster on X is living in Malaysia, because the pittance that Elon pays out to people, it makes YouTube look like the lottery, guys. It is absolutely insane how little they pay you per view.
Well, it was funny too because there are like when Elon like has a crush on like an e-girl, he like juices their Twitter monetization. There was this like Tiffany girl who was like this like MAGA girl that he was like flirting with, and then like once that thing was over, like her monetization, she made like $20 like the next month or something. It was so funny.
It is crazy how there's like there's nowhere you can even go to look at like how to earn more, like how much one view translates into a cent or whatever. Like there's no way to actually learn how to make money on it because there's no transparency whatsoever. It really does just seem to be like someone at the end of the month deciding, I think, $20.
It seems like like he's like it seems like it's one guy making the decisions. It does not feel like there's no AdSense to it.
Before we get too far away from the crazy guy that blew himself up, Griffin,
let's get back to that.
You sent me something that blew my mind because I did passively go through the stories that you suggested. Obviously, I didn't do my homework as well as you did, but I noticed a familiar face. And you know what? This is where I can really contribute to the show with, again, my white trash roots. Tim Kennedy was this guy's co-star, partner on a reality TV show, and it's not front page news. Tim Kennedy, I've always thought, if one day will commit an act of terror in this country. If you are familiar with Tim Kennedy at all, he has like Chris Kyle syndrome. Okay, he thinks that like. I texted Griffin when I first heard Tim Kennedy on the Joe Rogan Experience at 18 years old. I was like, holy shit, this guy is racist as fuck. Like, he was just blatant. There was no sophistication to the argument. He was like, sometimes I get out of my truck and I look around and I'm like, why is that person here? What are they doing here? What kind of business do they have? I'm like, oh, you mean you racially profile everywhere you go? That's quite a thing to admit. And he's like, this is just what they how they train you in the Army and the Special Forces. It's like, what doesn't belong here? That's what I'm always looking for. And I'm like, you are literally a Nazi. You're an insane Nazi. And apparently this guy was his teammate on a History Channel show. Tim Kennedy also went on to have his own
it's a reality show
TV show on, I think, like AE called like Hard to Kill or Harder to Kill or some stupid shit. But Tim Kennedy's the guy on the right. And you can listen to him go on for like 3 hours saying a bunch of crazy shit on
Let's play a little
like
sound
Joe Rogan
here.
800.
It's a reality show that pits teams of elite soldiers from around the world against each other.
Matt and Tim from the U.S. Army Special Forces, better known as the Green Berets.
Matthew Livelsberger and his partner Tim Kelly, both Green Berets,
Tim
appeared on
Kelly?
the
It's Tim
Ultimate
Kennedy.
Soldier Challenge 12 years ago on the History Channel.
I'm pretty sure they called him Tim Kelly, but that guy's a 100% Tim Kennedy. Yeah. Weird.
I mean, his name was Matt Berg in that too, so they were
Matt Berger?
Yeah, Matt Berg. But I guess with that, and we've gotten really good at home growing our terrorists. We've done an incredible job at that because I have more to say about that when it's linked with the NOLA one. But I mean, just to go back to it for a second, the next step in the major conspiracies, outside of the events, they found his passport that didn't explode. Of course, they were able to locate that. They have these, I guess, statements from him now about how the world was collapsing. It's hilarious that he basically was a Trump guy, but then, basically almost immediately became disenchanted with Trump and just, got mad, I guess, if we're to believe any of this story. But then the plot got a little wackier yesterday when this one, podcast claimed to, have a released note from Matthew Livelsberger claiming that he was doing this to whistleblow on the drones. Did you see any of this, Zach?
No, this sounds like a stretch to me. This is where I start to lose interest. I'm not lose interest I don't want to hear the rest of the story, but lose interest I'm not taking this very seriously. You know what I mean? This is where it starts to sound like I'm filling in the dots and moving my own narrative. Because if you want to go with a compelling argument, you would say he was pissed over the H-1B visas. You would say that's what disenfranchised. I mean, there was an entire Republican civil war that definitely pissed off a lot of people when Donald Trump was like, no, I'm going to side with Elon in that release, and was like, I think that we should have H-1B. A lot of his base was pissed off. I think that's a far more effective argument to make, that was the motivation, if we're to believe that he was pissed off about something Donald Trump related. I don't know how this is possibly supposed to be interpreted as a warning about the drones, but I would actually rather hear Gavin's thoughts on it.
That was a long wind up to say you don't know anything about this. That's great. All right, so Gavin, this letter was purportedly released by Matthew Livelsberger, posthumously or whatever, and had all these claims in it about how he was whistleblowing about the drones, and that the drones are from China, and that they're using gravitational propulsion systems to keep these aircraft in the air, and that he'd seen lots of these programs or what have you. But then instantly, a lot of people started a few hours later calling bullshit on this email, saying this email starts to look a little fake because if you'll notice, there are red lines, spell check, autocorrect red lines in the email screenshot, which appear if you're writing an email, not if you're receiving one.
Fake.
He would have had to take a screenshot of this in order for it to be
of him
real.
writing it, and he would have to screenshot his own email that he was writing and then send out the screenshot instead of the email. But anyway, so some people
Is there
are calling,
any validation that it's a real email?
Here's the thing. From what I've been seeing online, a lot of people knew this guy, and had served with this guy in special forces or what have you. And this was a real guy that did operations and stuff. But people are also saying he didn't do anything that would have given him any intelligence clearance to know anything about any top secret program, like a drone thing or something like that.
Yeah.
And I do feel I after spending a decent time with people that have gone to the Navy or the Army, they do all like to allude that they know about some crazy ass shit that they don't. That's a pretty common trait in the military. And of course I would fucking say that too. I'd be like, hell yeah, dude, they show me the fucking aliens.
Right. I think it's probably at least, because clearly you can't, you're not going to be in a 100% sound mental state in the first place if you would even do this for really any reason in such a dramatic way. So I think probably what put him over the top is illustrated by this meme, as you guys can see here.
Right.
I'm pretty sure that was the last straw. I think it was about his relationship.
It's a divorce guy moment. Well, it's a wife guy who can't see another side after a post-wife guy life.
Exactly.
Now
That's Veda.
That's alpha. Listen, if you don't have anything left to, if there's nothing left in your life to live for, it's alpha to just call it, right? just to call it.
I mean, that I do agree with, but
but I'm not. But that's me saying everyone has something to live for. I guess except for this guy.
I don't even think we talked about it, but did you guys see the messages that he sent some ex-girlfriends days before?
Yes.
Blowing himself up, where he was bragging about how cool his CyberTruck was and talking about how it made him feel like Batman or Halo.
Yes, I hear. Take yours off. I got it right here. Man behind Las Vegas Trump hotel blast told X his Cybertruck made him feel like Batman or Halo, which is a great phrase. I like that. I like that he feels like he doesn't just feel like Master Chief. He feels like the franchise at large. He feels like the universe, like the whole story and narrative, like the epicness of the whole thing, like the
honestly,
covenant,
so
the
Elon
flood.
Fanboy coded. He's not even familiar with any of the elements of the game, but he's seen the cover. And he knows that he wants to signal to people who game that he's one of them. He probably has only seen the Chris Nolan Batman
It's
movies.
also hilarious because it really does distill the appeal of the Cybertruck in just such a, like, it makes me feel like the Batman or the Halo. Like, that is literally, it's not any deeper than that for the motherfuckers who own this shit.
Also, Griffin, can I get you to weigh in? We were talking about this. Is it technically a truck? To me, it looks like a hatchback. To me, it looks like a crossover at best. There's no real pickup. As a man that spent my entire life with a general proximity towards a pickup truck, at one point I drove like the shittiest, gnarliest 1997 Ford F-150 that Gavin can attest to. That is not a pickup truck.
You can't even haul shit.
No.
Yeah. It looks like something that you would attach like a T-shirt gun turret to the back of to like shoot stuff at a fucking sports game, like something that like doesn't drive on real roads that stays in the stadium. Like I just the car is pointy in a way that I hate, and I just love that everyone just immediately was like, oh yeah, this is actually just the way the cars work and not a terrorist attack at all. But anyway, so yeah, this guy, people are like, oh well. This guy had a lot to live for. He was texting all these ex-girlfriends, and I was like, "That's actually proof he might have killed himself."
Yeah,
like all of these right here,
bro. That's actually the response from somebody that's never had pussy in their life. They're like, he was texting all of these ex-girlfriends, women that don't want anything to do with him. He was up. He had women that knew who he was, and it's like, no, dude. It was all over.
We gotta get
but
an
the
interview,
crying.
not on this show, but on some proper media outlet with one of those ex-girlfriends, so we can get a little bit more insight into this gentleman, because it is a fascinating situation. Like, it is weird that he would text them seemingly just like, hey, what's up, I'm in my new Cybertruck, knowingly days before he goes to use that Cybertruck as a weapon to kill himself. Like, it definitely makes it feel like he was in a very weird mental place.
You know what? He was probably a few days removed from... You guys ever see that movie Brothers with Tobey Maguire in it, where he comes back from the war and he's just never the same? It's got like Natalie Portman in it. He breaks all the shit in the kitchen and he like freaks out. Anyway, there's a very iconic scene towards the end of when he started.
I remember this movie. Yeah.
Tobey Maguire, and he like fucking rampages. I imagine that guy did that to each and every single one of these girlfriends, and now they just are afraid of him, and they have a restraining order that's being filed in process, but it takes a lot of time, and this guy's filing appeals because he knows people from the special ops. That is, I would imagine, a lot that's going on, and then he knows, finally, I'm at the end of my road. I don't have anything. I don't have any other outs. I know what I'm going to do. I know what'll finally make them love me. I'm going to blow up my Cybertruck in front of the Trump hotel to send a message. And then all of these women will mourn how they did not want to bear my children.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Making women mourn you. That's actually kind of alpha. That's kind of Viking. Like, what if PTSD didn't make you like Tobey Maguire from that movie, but it made you Tobey Maguire from like Spider-Man 3 when he's like evil? It's like he's like ta ta ta, like doing jazz and stuff like that, dancing on tables. It's like, oh, he's got PTSD. Yeah, so that's one attacker. But guys, there was multiple attacks to ring in the new year, because we also had the tragic NOLA car thing, which is crazy because it's Bourbon Street. It wasn't just like a street; it was like the street, and they like didn't have the barricades up, which already got people's minds like thinking and cooking.
Usually up?
And of course, yes, there's usually like supposed to be like metal barricades because it is like a walking street. That's the main street. So of Bourbon Street.
Right. I mean, I've been to Bourbon Street. I don't remember. I remember there being cars though driving down Bourbon.
And did they have ISIS flags? maybe ISIS just
from
operates
my memory,
out of there.
it does. I do remember cars being in the downtown area of New Orleans on a normal.
Well, then I haven't been, so maybe I'm getting fact-checked right now. But I saw an interview where people claimed there used to be barricades there. There wasn't on that street, but there were on other streets.
Weird.
That night. Maybe it was a time of day thing too, because I think it was in the evening. So maybe you saw it during the day or something.
Maybe it's also like they have to constantly be aware of security issues in New Orleans, specifically because of Mardi Gras. It's like obviously that happens every year, and it's like the prime fucking destination for a potential terrorist attack if someone wanted to. There, in fact, was a shooting at a Mardi Gras parade where I think like 4 or 5 people died when I was briefly there. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that they wouldn't have the barriers up. If at all, it would seem to be on Mardi Gras and like New Year's Eve, right? Like that seems like the time and the place for it.
Right, for sure. So big picture here. The conservatives, whenever there's a terrorist attack, they're like, please let it be an immigrant. Please let it be a trans immigrant. Like they're trying to hit like the bingo card. And so first what happened was the CyberTruck guy gets identified and they're like, please let it be an immigrant. And they're like, fuck, it's a burger man from America that was also a special forces guy. Fuck, he's a veteran. Fuck. That's about as American as it gets. Now they're like, okay, with the NOLA guy, they're like, all right, here we go. Let's do it. And they're like, the man driving the vehicle has been identified as Shamsud Din Jabbar. And they're like, yes! They're like, yeah! Yes! And they're like, a U.S. citizen from Texas. Fuck! Fuck!
Where's his dad from? Where's his dad from?
Where's his dad from? Where's his
Did
culture
he
from?
immigrate here from Qatar? Like,
What did he set his VPN to? So this was a mixed bag.
he voted for Kamala Harris. I know it.
Not only another U.S. citizen from Texas, but hey Arch. Oh, my dog has a very cute sweater on right now. It's adorable. The thing about it was, so they're like, okay, well, he's flying an ISIS flag, which maybe it got planted after the fact. We're not really sure, but I did see photos on the scene of an ISIS flag. So they're
Me
like,
too.
yes. And then the guy did, I guess, have positive statements about ISIS, and I believe also got divorced to Gavin's theory, which just means, guys, to avoid that, just don't get married. Then you can't get divorced.
True.
So everyone's excited because now they're like, we got a guy with a scary name that's in ISIS. This is like the best type of terrorist attack for us, for conservatives. But then it just comes out that he was also he served somewhere in the military as well, and him and Matthew Leivesberg both spent time at Fort Bragg, which is well, I mean, if you haven't heard of Fort Bragg, you ain't really about this life. But Fort Bragg is like the haunted mansion. It's
Fort Liberty, I believe it has been renamed.
Oh yeah, exactly. But it's basically like they are like it's like Hogwarts for like Jeffrey Dahmer types. Like they have like done like human rituals, cabals. Like it's what's it called? The Grove, the pedophile grove.
A lot of
What's
people
that
have
called?
Christmas stories. We just finished the Christmas season over here in the Midwest. Over at Fort Bragg, instead of Santa Claus is coming to town, it's like we're going to Fallujah to do a massacre of innocent people. It's just like Blackwater fables read to kindergartners. This is how they grow up and terrorize the world.
But not just overseas. They end up. It seems like Fort Bragg is a place that it's just growing radical, weird, stochastic elements that seem to happen all the time in the country because they've been linked to other creepos in the past as well. So maybe they're just bad at their jobs, but there seems to be some very odd things happening at Fort Bragg, which both these gentlemen appear to have been there not at the same time, but at different times.
Man, I heard that at Fort Bragg, one of the hazing rituals that they make you do. Man, I don't want to get shot by saying this, guys. So obviously, it's just I just heard a rumor, right? But one of the things that they make you do as part of your initiation is you have to do. And again, this is a rumor. But I've heard that they've done real life human centipede training. I'm just saying, as part of an initiation process.
That's really
where they
funny
have
for
to
it to
make
be.
one MRE last 3 men for
That's
9
a really
days.
funny. That's a funny way to do training because then they're not sewed. They're just like pushing their faces on each other's asses.
It's a battle
Because
of
you're training
will.
for it, right?
How much
So
do you love your country?
You
know
have
what
to
I
get
mean?
in there. You
What
know?
will you do to survive? What does freedom mean? They're finding out at Fort Bragg. That's why I heard that's why they had to change their name to Fort Liberty because it was drawing too much suspicion because of the human centipede contest. It was getting too steep. You know, word was gonna get out. You know, it's like Fight Club when you have too many members. It's like, somebody's gonna.
What I will
gonna
say is
forget
that
the first rule.
Elon Musk has to be pretty happy that the New Orleans guy didn't use a Cybertruck in his attack.
Oh, if it was just the car of choice
Imagine the
now.
public image fiasco.
Thank God he was a broke
Imagine
boy.
the PR nightmare for Tesla. They already had a bit of one to deal with the bomb situation, but imagine the blood of 20 innocent people splattered across. You know, oof.
Well, that's a normal Cybertruck day, like globally, is that many deaths probably. Like one of the things is like he's gotten the government to not have them like report all the accidents and all the Cybertruck issues. That's like a big thing that they've been pushing for.
Really?
So I guess congrats to everyone.
Just the Cybertruck or with Tesla specifically?
With Tesla, like they haven't had to report incidents the way other car companies have had to.
People in
and they're like-
California are buying Teslas like you would not believe. I went home not home to me, but we went home to visit my Salisa's family like 8 months ago, maybe
Yeah.
whatever the fuck, like March, April, some shit like that.
Get
and
it
her
right.
mom was obsessed with fucking her Tesla, and we had to ride in it on autopilot. Not a vibe. I hated every second of it. I was deeply afraid of it, but I'm
It has
even
like
more
roller coaster
grateful to her.
acceleration.
Yeah, dude,
Like,
it's
it
not
has,
right. It feels like you're riding around in a jet. It's got G-force.
I was in one with Sauger, and he fucking like juiced it like out of nowhere, and I like my back hit like the way like when you're going up a roller coaster. It felt awful. It was terrifying. I was like, you could just explode someone into particles like with this car.
Now
Like,
imagine a
it's fucking crazy.
65-year-old or 60-year-old Filipino woman whipping down the 405 in traffic with no control. You're just like
You almost need one just to defend from the other ones now. But the thing I realized is I talked to an Uber guy recently because all the Ubers are driving Teslas now, and I'm like, how do they afford this? And the deal is basically all these guys driving the Tesla Ubers they don't own the cars, and they don't make all the money from their Uber stuff goes to a company that leases the cars out to them. They like drive them around so they don't do wear and tear on their own personal vehicles, which is actually kind of smart. But that just means now that everyone's selling their Cybertrucks, like every Uber from now on is going to be a Cybertruck that you're going to have to get into until they all explode, and then we'll have to move on.
What's the difference between this and the yellow cab company again? Everyone, can anybody just remind me what the difference is between this and calling a cab now?
Cybertrucks
Like really, what the hell is the difference?
Apps,
Yeah.
app market, app revolution. But guys, we're not going to get to every story today, but there's like one other thing that I did want to bring up while we're talking about conspiracies, because it's been a very conspiracy-filled episode. So, have you guys heard about the fog?
The fog. I've been living through the fog, man. The Midwest has been covered in fog. It's been foggy.
It's a foggy
So-
fog world.
I guess neither of you. I guess it hasn't hit Missouri. This evil fog, but Americans are alarmed by chemical fog spreading
Oh no,
across
it's
the
hit
U.S.
Missouri, dude. It felt like a
oh,
noir.
so you were gaslighting me. So you did see the poison fog.
I mean, I said I've been living in the fog, and I don't know if you forgot how to speak English for a second, but you interpreted that as I've never experienced this fog.
I thought you were like doing some sort of just trolling quote.
Well, I'm always
You didn't-
hilarious, so I could understand how you'd make that mistake.
If
There
you'd
has
seen
been
the fog,
crazy
you'd be
fog.
crying. You'd be in tears.
There has been crazy
So there
fog.
has been fog.
Yeah, the other day it looked like Zach and I were saying it looked like a film noir or some shit outside. We were walking around. It was atmospheric as fuck. I didn't know it was chemical in nature.
It's not. That's what people are saying. It's like, well, I mean, I don't know that
They
it's
just
not, but
experienced
it's
fog
like,
for the first time, and they have to think it's a conspiracy now.
Let's do a quick meteorology lesson. Do you guys know how we get fog?
Isn't it
you
just
guys
like a
know,
cloud?
everybody listening understand how fog happens?
well,
What
I
it
think
is it's the same forces and weather patterns that create clouds, and they
I'm
just do that at a lower fucking.
Well, I'm glad that
hype
I asked
at a
that,
lower
Zach,
atmosphere level.
because I'm glad that you asked that, Zach, because that's fucking bullshit. And someone has Bethany Frankel, a former what is it, reality TV star? I forgot what show she was on, but she's actually fact checking the establishment bullshit figures.
She
like
looks
Zach
like she
here.
would have starred in like the live action Grinch movie. She looks like she would have been great as a Who in Whoville.
Yes. But with Bethany here, she actually is telling exactly where the fog comes from. She's been one of the new leading scientific voices on the platform.
About this crazy fog. In the 1920s, scientists patented technology that could create fog over widespread
Yes.
The
areas.
weather machine?
So that was 100 years ago.
That was 100 years ago.
And Waterhammer, the person who I speak to about all this stuff,
Waterhammer.
said to me, if that was 100 years ago.
Waterhammer. Who is that? Like a sounds like a. I mean, it kind of sounds like a Native American that like works on her backyard or something. Like,
Oh, yes. Ma'am, please. I am
Like,
Waterhammer.
I thought she
Do
might.
not
I thought
fire
she
me
might
from
do-
my job. I will be whatever you want me to be.
he's
He's
like
actually just-
Mexican. He's
Yeah.
Mexican.
He's from South Los Angeles, but he's just riding with it because the lady, he's like, honestly, bro, she won't get too close to me, and I got job security, so I just play along. I'm like, word.
What do you think the technology is like today? So it's not that this is conclusive, but the they is completely capable of creating fog over widespread areas to prevent people from seeing what's happening in the sky. That does track.
Oh shit! So it has to do with the drones. They're trying to make you not see the drones by putting fog out there. Wait, that makes a lot of sense.
It also just conveniently happens to be like the time of year that fog would materialize.
But here's the thing. Well, I guess the UFOs have materialized too. There's no answers there, and so this is what happens if the U.S. government is refusing to give me any information. Then I must adhere to someone. I need to get an answer from someone, and if it's going to be Bethany Frankel, then
You mean
that's the answer
Waterhammer?
I'm going to take. Yeah,
This
I'm
is
gonna
all
speak to
secondhand.
Waterhammer.
Why are you doing why are you doing erasure? Why are you doing indigenous erasure, Griffin? Why are you whitewashing the research and the know-how of
behind
this
every
indigenous
famous
leader,
behind every
Waterhammer?
famous white woman is a Waterhammer. So, but unfortunately, when you get too close to the truth, when you fly right over the target, you get censored. Even in Elon Musk's free speech world, Bethany Frankel. This is from the Daily Mail, one of our friends. Bethany Frankel claims she got a gag order for talking about the drones. She claims that she's been silenced on TikTok for her talk about the drones hovering over the Northeast, and claims she only stopped her video content about the situation because she's been gagged.
What?
The former Real Housewives of New York star, 54. Now, she's saying that the videos are still doing well on Instagram and other platforms, just not TikTok.
That's because they're Chinese
So-
drones, like that one dude revealed.
Yeah, it's easy. It's easy. This is not even long edition. This is very short edition here. This is A to B.
What I don't understand is the necessity or the need to tether it to the clouds, like to tether it to the fog. Like the fog is very easy to explain away. I think there's probably an argument those are Chinese drones and that the United States government just doesn't want to fucking deal with it. They're like, oh God, is it really worth a fucking huge deal in the lame duck period with this bag of bones president Joe Biden? Like, let's just say we don't
It
know.
almost, to
Hey,
me,
party
I
on.
got the vibe that she was almost alluding to an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory when she said they
The thing
can
with the
control
they.
weather machine.
Like that's kind of the Marjorie
Yeah, you-
Taylor Greene, like the weather.
You got to be careful. Exactly. You can't really say they anymore. You have to do. You have to go. You have to commit and say they them. You have to commit because you can't just leave the they hanging. It leaves an empty room. So that's the fog. I haven't seen the fog. But people are really upset about this, and I just think I think what's happened is because the things are happening faster and faster. There have been 2 to maybe 3 assassination attempts on the president. There's been random stochastic violence happening all the time. No answers really on any of it. And people are going to start looking for other people to give them those answers. And this is what happens.
Here's my question though: like, is there actually any more crazy shit happening than there was in like 2015? Because, like, do you remember in 2015 when there were all these ISIS attacks around Europe and, like, Christmas markets were getting, like, blown up by, like, Arabs and all this kind of shit? And, like, people were...
There was the Eagles of Death Metal incident.
Like
there was the Charlie Hebdo thing.
There was a trip to, like, France that my fucking high school French class was going to take, and literally all the kids' parents insisted that they drop out because they were all shit scared of, you know, this Europe...
JC, Charlie.
Yeah, exactly. All this shit. It was crazy. And it seems like, if anything, now it's actually a lot more chill. Like, I mean, I know that it's crazy with Donald Trump and stuff like with like the drones, but even the UFO kind of stuff, like that's nothing new. We were talking about the Phoenix Lights. This shit's been going on since like the 90s, if not the 60s, if not far fucking like. Are we really in?
But what's the difference? But the difference between all of your examples is that they all happened overseas, where you can be like, oh, that's some weird Europe shit. Now shit is happening here. Like there were multiple assassination attempts on the president. That actually hasn't happened in a while.
And that's the one thing that I think hasn't happened, but there were all kinds of terrorist attacks during the Obama administration.
There was this open public excitement around the Luigi thing. There was multiple attacks on the same day. And there's this like...
There was the Boston bomber. There was Charlottesville. There was... I mean, I'm just saying, there's been all kinds of shit like that. It's just... Hindsight's... You know what I mean?
I mean, certainly the current form of the internet and its conservativeness does like shove all this stuff even more down your throat. But like all these stories were reported in every other outlet.
Oh, I know.
These are not like crank
right-away
stories or
is
whatever
that, like,
appear.
You say like everything is happening quicker now. There's more stuff going on or whatever. But like I even think if you go back to like I was watching this end of the year 2005 little stupid jib jab thing, right? And like most of the issues they were dealing with in 2005, they were talking about the avian flu and shit back then. Like it was like the same fucking world.
Nice.
But just, everyone looks back and they're like, oh, back 20 years ago, everything was like so much different and better. And I was like, no, it wasn't. Like it's always been this hectic. It's always felt like the world was about to fucking fall apart. I just don't really feel like it's that much different now, despite people's claims to the contrary.
I think the information outlets are far different. I think the amount of for lack of a better term, fake news and insane stuff and AI news and all that has completely like eroded truth in a way that's way different than back then.
I guess that's true.
And I also think that while mainstream media like CNN, MSNBC and all that shit, like they always have fed us like bullshit. Like, compare that to any fucking politics podcast that's popular on the internet, and it's like fucking night and day in terms of like fact and fiction and stuff like that. So I do think that the way people are consuming, the way people are engaging with stuff is like vastly different. And then specifically with like terror attacks like on our home soil, like people are engaging with them deeper because there's more content about them. There's cell phone videos, there's emails and YouTube videos released. Like the experience of an attack you can engage with on a way deeper level and make the mystery and covering it part of your hobby.
I mean, people did that shit with 9/11 for fucking a whole decade.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my only pushback is I think that you're right that it might feel more compounded. Also, we have to consider that we all do this for work, so we're way more plugged into all of this than the average person. Although I do think average people are plugged into it a lot. If you consider like the Aurora shooting back in the Dark Knight Rises premiere, right? There was a fuckload of YouTube content that was made about that. There was a fuckload of panic about it. Same with the Boston bomber. Same with, the guy that drove his car through the Charlottesville. Same with the Jews will not replace. Like, I'm just saying there's been a lot of incidents of that where people have made ass loads of content about it in the past. I think right now we're just seeing a concentration of all of that because you're right, way more people than ever are getting their news online. Like my grandpa gets a lot of his news online. I think Gavin said his grandpa gets some news online now, if not most of it. Like, that's an insane change for some people who are in their 70s to be getting fed slop and not know what to do with it.
On Christmas, my grandma, like this was the black pill moment for me recently. Was at Christmas, my grandma showed me on her phone. She was like, "I want to go here," and it was an AI train that was like very clearly fake. But she was like, "It's my dream to go here one day."
On the train,
and to ride that train. And the train was all glass, like head to toe, and had like giant libraries like through it. or whatever. So it was like
Do you think he was
classic
just
like
saying,
AI.
like, I would
take
love
you-
to, like, I wish this was real?
No, because then I was like, Grandma, like, you know that's like AI, right? And she was heartbroken. Like she was devastated. I almost regret telling her. I was like, this is like pulling someone from the Matrix when they're not ready. And it was really sad because we've talked a lot about the Facebook AI slop on the show or whatever, but like I actually experiencing it and realizing that, holy shit, this is happening to millions of people, probably I would say conservatively over the age of like 50.
Dude,
that like
and you know what's really sad about it is when you realize that and how easy like it is to convince someone that that is real. Think about how easy it is for scammers to take advantage of old people online now that they're so online. Like that is something that society needs to come to terms with because like I'm sure they're working in overtime.
Yeah, like I mean, you could take my voice and be like, "Hey, Grandma, I need $500 or whatever right now." Like wire it to me. Like that shit probably already is happening. It's crazy.
So
no, dude, it's actually crazy what they'll do. And this is a real. I used to like watching scam videos. This is one that's really popular. They'll find people that they know are old and vulnerable and lonely, right? And they will leave a fake voicemail with AI on your phone saying like, "Hey, it's your granddaughter, Kelsey. Like, oh, I'm just in a little bit of a bind at the grocery store. Like, can you Venmo me like $80 or whatever?"
80.
Right? Yeah, right. Well, you start small, right? You start like
I love like scamming someone for like $3 or $4 and being like, "Gotcha!" Like riding off into the sunset on that.
And then sure, no problem. Here's $80 fucking. What now they have that like transaction history with you. Now they have all of that information. Now they have the threat in you, and also couple the unawareness and the naivete with loneliness, and that's the other big thing. So many old people are about to be lonely as fuck, and
Sad.
that's one of the things that makes
I'm
me
lonely right
terrified
now
about being old.
I'm ready for AI to take all my money now. Okay,
I'm like-
I'm ready now.
In fact, I think podcasting is going to be the last thing that AI can take from us. Knock on wood. So I'm actually really stoked about lining this up.
Yeah. The ceiling on podcasting, how hard it is, everything. Yeah, that's not replicable. You saw the meta shit, those AI
Dude,
profiles.
well, I will say,
like,
luckily, that's the first time I felt any hope in the AI age because
that people rejected it.
No one cared about the stupid Coca-Cola, the hideous ad that they made. I saw it playing on a million TVs, and I was like, I was the only one pointing. I was like to my sister, I was like, that's AI, right? And she was like, really? And I was like, yeah, isn't it fucking reprehensible? Anyway, with the Facebook thing, people were like, no, fuck this shit. We do not want. I think part of the reason is because they launched the like queer black mama one. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think
that's the problem. If it had been a white,
it was the woke, not the AI that people hated.
It was DEAI. But the thing is like I didn't even know.
They should have AI'd a 22-year-old Pamela Anderson. Am I right, gang?
Exactly.
I didn't even know what to tell my grandma because she asked. I was like, "It's fake," and she's like, "How do you know?" And I was like, "I don't even know how to tell someone like how it's fake."
Yeah.
I was like, "It's shiny. It looks like like almost."
Do you think it's uncanny valley? Sometimes is that what the word for it is? Because I don't know.
How do you tell that? But how do you tell that to an old person, right? Like, what the fuck do you even say to them? Like, it's not. It's the demon. It's the devil. That's how you know. Like, I don't know.
Honestly, I think we have to treat not just adults or not just old people, but people in general like they're all children, and just go back to the line that if it's on the fucking internet, don't trust it.
It's fake. Like
just
everything.
Assume
basically
Occam's
everything.
razors that it's AI. It's fake. Don't believe it. Go to the fucking library if you want some truth. Like.
That's actually probably,
unironically, I think we're getting to that point, which sucks because
folks,
one of the best parts about the internet back in the day, seemingly, is that it was used to dispel bullshit, and then it was like where enlightened people kind of hung out. At least that's what it felt like in corners of the internet, but not these days.
So I think that's a great message to end it on. Go to the library. That's where you can find our podcast. That's where it's really doing numbers. A lot of people track Social Blade and make fun of our numbers by saying you didn't check the library where it's getting rented out a ton, okay? And it's stopping a lot of old people from being tricked, being radicalized. So we're starting there. We're starting the public libraries. Guys, thank you. Any last words? Any last thoughts? Anything you want to plug or end it on? This is our first show of the new year, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy. It was a good show, everyone. Really appreciate everybody tuning in.
You guys got any resolutions?
Really, right now, just kind of trying to survive the blizzard that we're going through right now in Kansas City.
I wonder if the Jews created this storm, Zach.
What you mean the theys, the they thems? For me, I am deciding if this is the year I get into. I might just become like a raw milk guy this year. I'll try that out for a little bit because sometimes it's just you don't want to swim up current forever. Sometimes you want to ride the river. You want to ride the lazy river for a little bit. You'll get out once you do a full loop again. That's how I feel. That's what I'm doing this year. Is you're going to see a lot of things that upset you, a lot of bad things happening in the country. Hop on a float for a little bit. Put your feet up. It'll take you all the way back around one day, hopefully.
Turn off your mind, relax, and float downstream. It is not dying.
Do Bob Dylan. It's Bob Dylan time right now.
How many roads must a man walk down?
Timothy kind of killed it.
You can call him a man, babe.